Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name's Amal. We have a lot of fun, so I promise you will not regret subscribing. Speaking of subscribing, my analytics keep telling me that half of you, actually more than half of you, are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, take a minute right now and subscribe. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I post daily there and you'll get a better insight into my life. Okay, so as the title of this video says, I'm basically going to be talking about all my regrets of my 20s. This past year, I started a new decade, and because of that, I wanted to reflect a little bit about things that I maybe could have done better. I was inspired by this video by the YouTuber Matt Davella, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He had a video, I think it was last week, called Regrets in My 20s, and I thought, why not also talk about things that I wish I did better. So in his video, he started off by saying that for most people, they don't regret the things they've actually done, they regret the shots they didn't take. And that's really the theme of this video. It's not gonna be so much of like, oh, woe is me, why did this happen? But it's gonna be things and lessons I wish I learned sooner. And I wanna just say that it's never too late to learn a lesson. It's never too late to start something new, to change direction. And that's basically gonna be the theme of this video. So without any further ado, let's get into the things that I wish I knew in my 20s. So the first thing is something that I've kind of talked about a little bit on my channel, and that's just not listening to myself, not really paying attention to the things that I like and really just the person I was wanting to become. Especially when it comes to my career, I spent so much time focusing on how I can fit myself into the workforce rather than focusing on the things that I actually wanted to do in my life. And I think that's a theme that I see a lot of young people these days doing. We don't really spend enough time focusing on the things that we actually like to do. One thing that I did is I tried so hard to pick a career title instead of just trying new things and really just honing in on the skills that I just like to do. So I think it should be the opposite way. It should be you're paying attention to the specific skills that you love, things that just really make your heart sing, and then trying to manufacture a career from that. It seems simple enough, but I think for so many of my 20s, I was thinking about that backwards. So if I would do it all again, I definitely would have just let my heart and my interests lead the way, and then the career will follow. The second thing that I regret not starting earlier in my 20s is investing. So I'm definitely not like a big wig investor by any means. Investing is something that I only recently started researching, and I just wish I started it sooner in my 20s or even earlier. For me, I always thought as a Muslim, there were so many things about investing that I thought were like gambling or, you know, the interest and kind of investing into things that maybe weren't the best. So I just was always so confused on how to even approach investing. I also thought that investing was basically just like super risky, and everyone who was doing it was like just playing with their money and just had like a lot of disposable income to play around with. And I didn't really see it as something that was very stable and long term. It wasn't until I started researching that I figured out that there are so many resources that break down the different types of investing, how to put your money, how to move your money for Muslims and for other people as well. And I didn't understand that investing wasn't actually like gambling and a risk all the time. It really is just about the type of investing you are doing. But I think it's never too late to invest. If you have $100, a few $100s, a few $1,000s, whatever it is, just doing your research, talking to someone you trust, and investing your money somewhere is something that I think your future self will definitely thank you for. The next thing that I wish I did in my 20s was learning to love my own company. Being alone and loving being alone truly is an art. I think for so many of us, especially when you're like in the adolescence / early 20s age, you feel like you need to be around friends or people to feel validated and to feel like you're having fun. But I think for me, a large part of my 20s was just filling literally every waking moment with hanging out with friends, hanging out with family, you know what I mean? Putting myself out there socially in ways that really exhausted me, and I wasn't realizing that I needed to really love being by myself. And the reason I didn't love being by myself is I associated being alone with being lonely. And I think a lot of people do this, especially when, you know, all your friends are hanging out, you want to be a part of the social scene. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I think there has to be a balance. And for me, a lot of my 20s were filled with hanging out and going out and being around a lot of people, sometimes people that I didn't even really like. And it wasn't until I moved to LA that I had really a very small, almost non-existent social circle. I put myself in situations where I was hanging out with people that I just didn't really like hanging out with, you know? And it was just one day where I was like, you know what? I would rather be alone, hang out with myself, than hang out with people that I just don't really want to. And while that was like just a simple realization, for me it was really huge, because I was like, what am I running away from? So I started really embracing being by myself, taking myself out to movies, go to dinner, and just enjoy my own company and really just deepen the relationship I had with myself. An interesting thing happened when I started doing that, which is I started realizing that my other relationships got so much more enhanced and enriched because of that time I was spending by myself, because I was able to really fully recharge, and I was able to just be the best version of myself for everyone around me. So I wasn't just, you know, running around with a super low social battery. I was really able to give my friends and family my full 100% self. And at the same time, I loved the person that I was because I actually got to know her. So that's something I wish I really realized sooner. The next thing I regret about my 20s is fear of deepening the relationships around me because of fear of being hurt. So this is actually one that I only recently realized that was happening. Basically what I was doing in my 20s, maybe even before then, is because I was so scared of being hurt, I intentionally distanced myself from my friends, my family, everyone around me. I distanced myself from people, and not in a way that was really obvious. I would, for example, have very surface level relationships with the people around me and people closest to me, because I was just afraid that if they got too close or a relationship got deep, that if they hurt me, it would hurt that much more. And I think that self-sabotage was something that I was completely blind to until I really was able to get to the root of what was happening. I really was scared. I was hurt in the past by a lot of people, and I always thought, oh, this is a good way to make sure nothing bad happens to me, is to literally just build relationships super superficially and pull myself away from people, even people that I really like and love and even sometimes really trust, because I just didn't want to be hurt, to be left. And it was a really big moment for me. I remember in college, one girl that I knew described me as like cold and distant. And I was shocked because I was like, how can I be cold and distant? I'm so friendly, I'm so social, I have a million friends. You know, I didn't say this to her, but I was just thinking that. And it was because she kind of saw through that facade and was like, yeah, you might be really social and like, you know, the life of the party, but when it comes to a deeper level, you are very distant. And I think that was really an eye-opening moment for me, because I thought, wow, I didn't even know this was a self-defense tool, that I was pulling away from people, you know, subconsciously, because I just didn't want a relationship to be deeper. And it was confusing for me because I allowed my friends to vent to me, my family to vent to me, everyone around me to vent, to disclose whatever they need to disclose to me. I loved talking to them about what they were going through, what they were doing. But when it came to me, I was like, I don't really know. I didn't kind of reciprocate. And it wasn't until I made that realization and I realized that if I keep going down this path, I really am not gonna have many people in my life that really know me, you know what I mean? I think that the biggest thing to know is that vulnerability is not easy. It's definitely not something that is for the faint of heart. It's something that you choose to do every day. You choose to do, and you choose to really show up for yourself in that way. And it's something for me that is difficult. And I think for many people it's difficult. I think it's also really important to know to be selective on who you're vulnerable with, right? Because not everyone deserves to see you vulnerable. Let me say that again because it's really important. Not everyone deserves to see you vulnerable. And I think that's a very important point. I wish I just learned that a little bit earlier in my journey. The next thing that I regret not starting earlier is going to therapy. Therapy is something that I've dabbled in here and there. I've done some group sessions. I've done like one single session a few years ago, but it's not anything that I've sustained for many years. It's not until recently that I started researching and actually seriously considering going to therapy, even though my sister is a literal therapist. I've had some very major reservations doing therapy, not because I don't believe in the idea of therapy. It's more because I just was a little bit scared. It also was realizing that I deserve to show up for myself as my best possible self every day. And that's what the world deserves, and that's what everyone in my life deserves. And I think that is something I would say to you all as well, that you deserve the best version of yourself. You deserve your most happiest version. You deserve your most grounded version. And I think going to therapy is one way to really enhance how you feel about yourself, how you see the world, and how you deal with the things that really life throws at you. Another major obstacle for me too was just really the financial aspect. Therapy is really expensive, and it's something that a lot of healthcare providers don't really cover fully, so you have to pay out of pocket. And I think for me, that was always a huge obstacle because I just didn't have the money. But nowadays, there are so many affordable options for therapy. I know that BetterHelp has an amazing therapy program that's online, and they also have financial aid, and there's a lot of amazing other ones as well. So I challenge all of you to just research therapy. If it's something you've always been thinking about, maybe just look into it. Something that I remember learning a few years ago is that you never regret the effort you put into bettering yourself. And there we have it, everybody. Those are the things that I regret / wish I knew earlier in my 20s. I really hope you enjoyed that. I love talking about things like this. So if you have another topic that you want me to address, please put it down in the comments. And also, let me know something that you wish you knew in your 20s or something you wish you knew in your teens. Whatever, let me know below. And always remember that it's never too late to learn or learn a new lesson. Time is a construct. It doesn't exist. As long as you're learning and you're being a better person than you were yesterday, it's all good. Again, thank you all so much. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.